So into the top 10 we go with Donnie Brasco. This is another Johnny Depp film. So in this, he plays an FBI agent who goes undercover with the Italian mafia, and he forms a friendship with a guy called Lefty, played by Al Pacino, and it's their friendship that forms the crux of the movie. It's a lot of fun just watching these two guys driving around and talking about various stuff. And similar to the film ID that I was talking about earlier, there's a lot of tension in this as you sit there wondering if this main character is going to get found out at any point. I do think the ending is a little bit underwhelming. You'll go through this film expecting that there'll be lots of confrontations towards the end as things come to a head, and the story doesn't really give you that. But I think this is the price you pay for a more realistic sort of mob movie. I think this one plays better the second time you watch it when you know how it's going to pan out. But certainly a really good film. I can't really separate it from Blow, in all honesty, that other Depp film I was talking about. I've separated them by like 5 or 6 spots in the rankings today, but if I'd have done this ranking in another month, I might have put Blow ahead of Donnie Brasco. It just depends on how I'm feeling. Warriors, come out to play. Sorry, that probably sounded a bit tinny, but I've got no milk bottles in the house at the moment. I absolutely love The Warriors. It's a film about a gang who have to make it all the way across New York State to get home in the middle of the night, knowing full well that all the other gangs in the city want to kill them for reasons I'll let you discover when you watch the film for yourself. But it's hugely exciting. It all takes place over the course of a few hours. I have loved this film ever since I first saw it in the 90s. Me and my dad rented it on VHS. I can still recall seeing it on the shelf and just being massively attracted by the box art. I'd never heard of the film before, but the picture on the VHS used to be like 100 thugs just stood there looking all menacing, carrying like bits of pipe and Molotov cocktails and stuff, and I absolutely thought at the time, that is the film for me, and I took it home, watched it, was not disappointed. I've been a massive fan of it ever since. I don't like the Blu-ray remaster that they brought out a few years ago because they've inserted all these like comic strip things into the movie which sort of they act like chapter breaks, I guess. They just sort of pop up every now and again. Totally pointless if you ask me. But if you want another example as to how big a fan I am of this movie, I've actually got a Warriors t-shirt which has a picture of the leader of the Baseball Furies gang on the front of it. I think that just says it all. But yeah, The Warriors, man, what a great film. At number 9, we have Cicario, a much more realistic sort of movie than The Warriors. This is concerned with drug gangs who operate between the United States and Mexico. We follow a young agent played by Emily Blunt who joins a task force who want to put a stop to this activity going on between the two nations, maybe even permanently shut down the various cartels involved in this dubious activity, very illegal activity, obviously. This is a very stylish film, directed by Denis Villeneuve, who at the time of doing this video has just been chosen to be the new James Bond director, and I'm pleased as punch about that because I think this guy is one of the best in the business at the moment. I don't just love this film, but also Dune and Blade Runner. He's just absolutely brilliant, this guy. I've not seen the second of these movies. Is it called Soldado? And that surprises me because it's been a long time since I saw the first one. And yet it's kind of a one-of-a-kind film for me. I don't think I've ever really been that interested in a sequel. I probably will watch the second one at some point. I did have my eye on a 4K double pack for a while of the two movies. Maybe that's something I could get, but I can only speak for this first film, but it's absolute class. At number 7, we have Traffic. This deals with a pretty much identical subject matter to the previous film, really. This is why I've got these two films side by side in the rankings. I just can't really separate them in my head, but I think this one is just about the superior movie. It's also the older movie. It came out in the year 2000. This is one of the first ever DVDs I bought. It might have been the second or the third DVD I ever bought. I can remember watching all the features on the disc, everything. Interview clips, documentary pieces, because having a DVD at that time was so exciting. I just had to watch everything from, accessible from the menu screen. These days, I hardly watch any special features. I just don't have the time. But Traffic is a near 3-hour movie. It's got 3 interweaving storylines, all dealing with the same ongoing problems that are happening down near the southern border. So you've got Michael Douglas's politician who is trying to attack the problem politically. And then we've got another story involving his daughter, who, unknown to him, is getting involved in drugs herself. And then there's this other storyline involving Benicio del Toro, again, who plays a cop, and he uncovers corruption that's happening both on the USA side and the Mexico side, and it ends up costing him dearly. But I love how this film is directed. It was done by, I think, Steven Soderbergh is his name. And each of the 3 stories have got a different look to them. Like the stuff to do with Douglas's daughter has got like a blue tint on the screen the entire time, and the Del Toro section has got like a yellowy type of tint. It's really cool how they've done that, but I don't think Michael Douglas and Benicio del Toro ever meet in the movie, from what I can recall. The 3 storylines do stay kind of separate for the most part, but really cool film. I think it's hugely underrated, and I definitely recommend it. I've seen it maybe 3 or 4 times. And number 6, we have Get Carter. Now, just to be clear, I don't mean the really boring one from the early 70s, that really outdated thing starring Michael Caine. Hell no. I mean the Sly Stallone remake, baby. Yeah. Yeah, that's where it's at, not the Caine one. I'm just joking. Don't leave the video. You know what? Let's try this again. So the proper number 6 is the Michael Caine version of Get Carter. I've never even seen the Sylvester Stallone one. I might have watched it for like 20 minutes once and got bored. I can't remember. But this one from the early 70s is brilliant. So Michael Caine plays Jack Carter, a London gangster who travels from London to Newcastle to avenge his brother's death. And he ends up bumping off a load of mob bosses who, it turns out, had something to do with that death. But the main beauty of this film is just Caine's performance as Carter. Like, this guy is so much fun to watch. He just goes around the Northeast with a scowl on his face, trying to be mean and nasty to everybody, but it just works because Caine is so good in this role. This is a film that me and a friend from uni really bonded over back in the day. We watched it like several times together just because he had the DVD. And I love the music as well. Like, there's a great theme tune to this. Sometimes if I'm watching this film, during the opening sequence, when we're following Carter on the train, I'll literally rewind it back to the beginning again, just so I can listen to the music for another minute before we get into the movie proper. At number 5, we have Heat. So this is a film where Al Pacino's cop character is trying to take down Robert De Niro's gang of criminals. Val Kilmer's also part of that gang. It's a very special film. It's probably mostly remembered for a great shootout in the streets where the sound design is just off the charts. Like, the guns sound so realistic. But I will also remember it for just one particular line of dialogue where Al Pacino goes, "Because she's got a great ass!" Like, my dad always used to impersonate this line. If we were watching the film together, he'd start repeating the line and I'd probably miss the next scene because it was drowned out. But even when we weren't watching the film, occasionally he would find an excuse to bring this impersonation out of the locker. He's passed away now, but if I'm watching Heat now, I can't get past that scene without chuckling and thinking back to old memories. It's not just the shootout that's great, though. The duel at the airport at the end is a great way to finish this thing. I heard a rumour not so long back that there was going to be a Heat 2, like 30 years after the fact. Hopefully this will turn out to be nothing more than a brief tabloid rumour, because the idea of Al Pacino being a cop again when he's in his 80s now just seems a bit ridiculous to me. I think they should just leave it be. At number 4, we have Casino. So this is almost like a companion piece to Goodfellas, really. It's a similar sort of movie featuring similar actors in the main roles, but out of the two, I prefer this one. If I'm going to watch a film like this, I'd rather watch it in a glitzy, glamorous place like Las Vegas than a windy, dark Chicago. No offence to anybody from Chicago. I'm sure it's a great city in its own right. But another reason I prefer Casino is I just feel like it's a little bit more educational as well. You find out so much about how Vegas and casinos works with this film, and also how gangsters really controlled that scene in the 70s and the 80s. And it's such a fast-moving, addictive affair, this. I feel like Scorsese had learned a lot by this film from when he'd done Goodfellas and in his earlier movies. Like, all the scenes are really quick in this. Like, pop, 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 pop. You're in one scene and then suddenly you're in the next one, and it's a hard film to put down. Like, when it comes to really long films these days, I'm talking like 3 hours plus, I often have to split them into 2 nights because my life's just so busy. I'm a full-time worker, I'm a parent, dog owner, YouTuber, you know, it's difficult. But with Casino, that if I'm going to watch this film, there's every chance that when I put it on, I'll end up breaking my own self-imposed bedtime curfew, and I'll just be finishing this thing off at like 1 in the morning because it's so good. Number 3, we have Scarface. This is a rise and fall type movie. So we follow Al Pacino's character, Tony Montana. He's a Cuban who arrives in America with basically nothing. He starts working in a burger van, and somehow he works his way up to becoming one of the biggest drug kingpins in all of Florida. He's got a huge mansion, a big private army working under him. But it all comes crashing down because his personality is completely ill-equipped to handle this newfound status, and nothing seems to make him happy. He gets the woman of his dreams, but that doesn't make him happy. He's got all this money, that doesn't make him happy. You have to wonder, actually, what would make this guy happy? Getting his sister, maybe? It's a captivating film. There's so many memorable scenes. The dialogue is so razor sharp, you could probably cut your finger on it if you tried to touch it. And the soundtrack is so good. Like, most of the songs from this movie made it into the Grand Theft Auto 3 video game. There's one of them called She's on Fire that I actually requested on the night of my wedding. So once the party started, I asked the DJ to play this song, and he was able to. But I reckon I was probably the only person on that dance floor who knew where this song had come from, because there were a lot of puzzled glances on that dance floor, because we went from like probably Dancing Queen to this random song from Scarface from 1980. It was perfect. All it needed was for me to have a white suit on, a big cigar, and maybe Michelle Pfeiffer loitering nearby, and it just would have been complete. And number 2, we have Once Upon a Time in America. This is almost certainly the longest film in this list. It clocks in at around about 4 hours, and I think there might be one version out there that's even longer. So this film is set around the Prohibition era of America. We follow a gang of youths who get together and form their own little gang, and they start to become quite notorious in the local area as they move into their 20s, but it all starts to go wrong because crime doesn't pay, ultimately. So, you know, there's prison time for one of them, and eventually some of them get killed, one of them gets forced into exile, and ultimately their lives just go completely down the toilet. But it's absolutely fascinating to watch. Sergio Leone directed this film. I really wish this guy had done more than 7 movies, because the guy was an absolute maestro, and this might just be his masterpiece, like the peak of his career, like the fruit of all his efforts combined, because I just think this is an amazing piece of work. It won't be for everybody. It is a little bit slow. Structurally, it's kind of confusing at times. Like, there are things that happen right at the start of this that you might have forgotten 4 hours later, and the trouble is those things are kind of integral, and a lot of the film at times is being played out of sequence, so you've really got to be paying attention to everything that's going on. The last half an hour of this film will also trip people up. Like, the first time I watched this, I thought that what I was watching towards the end was a chain of events you should take literally. But on subsequent rewatches, I've started to think that what you're watching late on is actually just one big long dream. You could interpret this film in all sorts of different ways, but I just think it's absolutely awesome. And similar to Casino, this is a film that I could see myself, even today, clearing my schedule to watch the whole thing in one go, if possible. Right, it's time to find out what is my number 1 crime and gangster film in this list. Shall we have a drum roll? Well, I don't actually have a set of drums, so why don't we do a Warriors-style clink thing instead of a drum roll instead, right? Number one film, come out to play. Number one film. And number one, then, we have Carlito's Way. I am so in love with this movie. It's not even funny. It's another one that I got introduced to by way of a VHS rental back in the 90s. I can remember trying to persuade my cousin to watch this film, and it kind of fell on deaf ears. He's not really into movies anyway, to be honest. So this is about a character played by Al Pacino. The character's name is Carlito Brigante. He's a career criminal, and at the start of this film, he's just been released from prison after a 5-year stretch, but he's vowed to go straight. But all of his old friends and contacts don't want him to go straight. So ultimately, Carlito decides that he's going to have to get out of New York with his girlfriend, start a new life somewhere else, but that is easier said than done. And after 2 hours of utter cinematic greatness, this all culminates in an amazing chase sequence at Grand Central Station. It's absolutely awesome. This is the movie which has always made me wish I grew up in the Bronx part of New York, just so I can start my YouTube videos by saying, hey, I'm the Midnight Woodsman from the Bronx. Similar to Benny Blanco, you know. But as it is, I mean, I'd have to say I'm Midnight Woodsman from a small market town in Staffordshire, and it doesn't quite carry the same coolness factor, shall we say. But great film, proud to put it at number one. Do let me know in the comments below your ranking of your favourite crime and gangster movies, and I will catch you all again next time. Bye-bye.